Call of Duty used to be a very different game. Before the Nicki Minaj skins and AI art, there was a time when CoD wanted to be a kick-ass shooter, and it was. They didn't care about your feelings or how you wanted your gun to look. They made a war game and they made sure you get PTSD from it. How you doing everyone? I'm Sam and this is Rooftop Gaming. I know I kinda sound like a boomer talking about the good old days, but if you're watching this video, you're probably a boomer too. One more thing before we go further in the video. This video is going to be mainly about the campaign of the game and not the multiplayer or the zombies mode, although I'm gonna briefly mention them too. So if you're interested, come with me to hop on the time bus to go back to 2002. In 2002, a small studio named 2015 Inc. developed an entry for EA's Medal of Honor series, Allied Assault. The game was created with input from Steven Spielberg himself, and sure enough, it was a hit, selling millions of copies and winning numerous awards. But EA being EA decided to shut down the company and let its in-house developers take care of the series. Activision, however, swooped in and helped these guys find their new company and create their new franchise. Infinity Ward was found shortly after the release of Allied Assault, founded by Jason West, Vince Zampella and Grant Collier, who had these games on their resumes at the time. These guys and about 20 more developers made the first Call of Duty, bigger and better than Medal of Honor. The game sold millions of copies, so the studio now had 3 times the budget and a larger team to make a second game. And as expected, the second game had an incredible launch. Infinity Ward thought it'd be fair to ask for 2 more years to develop their next game, so Treyarch was called in to fill in the gap. Unlike Infinity Ward, they had no experience making first-person shooter games. Up until that point, they had made some Spider-Man games and some NHL games, and an underwhelming spin-off of Call of Duty, but that was about it. Not only they were inexperienced, but they only had 8 months to finish the game. As you probably know, the game was average at best, and it was never released on PC because Treyarch didn't know how to do it. And they couldn't ask Infinity Ward to do it either, because they were busy changing history.
Tango down. Hallway, clear.
See, while Treyarch was working on a filler game, Infinity Ward was taking the franchise to the future. Modern Warfare blew up as one of the best games ever made. The multiplayer was addictive, the campaign was engaging, and the gameplay is still a benchmark for shooter games. With Infinity Ward's massive success, they were granted 2 more years to work on a sequel to Modern Warfare. So once again, Treyarch was called in to keep the machine running, but this time they had more time, more money, and more experience. So they went back to where they had left off, to make the war game they were supposed to make in the first place. As I mentioned earlier, Call of Duty 3 was quite underwhelming. Although it was generally a good game, many fans and critics complained about the lack of originality and polish. While Activision was whining and dining Infinity Ward, Treyarch was rushing to get the game out of the door. According to Noah Heller, who later became the senior producer on World at War, Call of Duty 3 was developed in only 8 months, and the only reason for that was greed. You see, Call of Duty 2 was a launch title for Xbox 360, and it was the most successful one, selling about 200,000 copies in 1 week. Activision had found a new gold mine, so they turned to Treyarch to ask for a console-exclusive spin-off, Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1. The game was crap, but it was a low-cost, high-profited spin-off, and that was enough for Activision to ask for another one. Treyarch started working on Call of Duty 3 right after Big Red 1. They had limited time and resources, but they were slightly more experienced. Call of Duty 3 received a better reception, or at least wasn't as harshly criticized as Big Red 1. The game was praised for its multiplayer mode and visual improvements, but the repetitive campaign and technical issues couldn't be ignored. In Activision's eyes though, the game was a success. They sold more than 1 million copies in under 2 months. So when Modern Warfare launched and blew up, Activision was once again in need of fuel for their money printing machine. And going to a whole new studio for COD would be really risky, so they went back to Treyarch. At very least they could make a decent shooter, and we all know a decent shooter with Call of Duty in its title is going to sell. Treyarch started working right after Call of Duty 3, which basically means World at War took 2 years to develop. Or so you'd think. After the release of Call of Duty 3, Treyarch was in a limbo state. Activision hadn't yet decided what to do with the franchise or the studio, so they were all kind of waiting to see what happens. Would they be working on a World War II Call of Duty? Would they be working on a futuristic one like Modern Warfare? Would they even be working on Call of Duty in the first place? There were 2 years between Call of Duty 3 and World at War, but the gap was filled with Modern Warfare, and Modern Warfare was a make-or-break title for Activision. It could redefine or destroy this whole franchise. So naturally all the focus was on Infinity Ward. But even before Modern Warfare was released, Treyarch believed Activision would just simply give up on this franchise, and that they were Activision's safest bet while Infinity Ward was busy. So they started brainstorming. They wanted to shed the B-Team label. They wanted to be more than a studio that made license and filler games. They wanted their COD to be unique. There isn't much information about what they came up with in this period, but it's very likely that both Black Ops and World at War were born here. Eventually, Modern Warfare was released in 2007 to massive acclaim, and when Infinity Ward asked for another 2 years to develop the sequel, Activision didn't even hesitate. They got it. So once again Treyarch was called to action, but they spent the first year only brainstorming without a clear vision, so now they had only about 1 year to actually develop the game. During the first year, they decided to use the Infinity Ward engine, the same engine used for Modern Warfare, and because of this, the core of World at War is very similar to Modern Warfare. The movements, aiming and shooting are nearly identical, changed only slightly so it fits the World War II setting. And the HUD, the health regeneration effect and the grenade indicators were untouched. Treyarch didn't want the game to be just a reskin of Modern Warfare. While they were on their toes waiting for Activision to finally greenlight the game, they were modifying the engine to turn it into what they needed. And one of these key modifications was enhancing the game's water and fire physics. The way water reacts when you move through swamps and shallow waters, or when something explodes in them, is highly realistic. Fire's behavior though is the more prominent one, especially with fire-based weapons like flamethrowers and Molotov cocktails added to the game. Soldiers' clothes, the wood used in the trenches and the farming fields react naturally to fire, and the burning areas slowly expand themselves. You can set one thing on fire and watch the flames spread and consume everything in their path. And when the fire takes over, soldiers panic, run away and try to find a cover. World at War is probably the only game where I felt guilty for using a flamethrower on enemies. They drop their weapons, desperately try to put out the flames with their hands, scream, run, until they finally fall down. This brings us to the next major improvement in the engine, and the game itself, graphic violence. Even to this day, World at War remains the goriest and most violent game in the series. Soldiers can be seen mutilated and torn apart. Limbs and heads can be blown off, and in some cases that doesn't necessarily mean death. The torso can also be ripped open with stronger weapons, meaning you can see the ribs and other internal organs of a soldier. Blood also behaves more naturally, probably due to improved water-based physics. You can see pools of blood forming around lifeless bodies, or even the splatters on walls and objects around them. Another improvement in the game is the AI. In the Soviet campaign, we have the German army as the enemy, an enemy model that had been in all previous World War II Call of Duty games. Their behavior is mostly like the past entries, but only with a slight enhancement. But in the American campaign, players fight against the Japanese Imperial Army, a completely different enemy than the European counterpart. The problem was that the Japanese soldiers acted and fought differently. They used different tactics and weapons, and of course they followed the Bushido code. They fought for honor, with courage and no fear of death. They banzai charge your ass, jump out of the bushes and run towards you and try to kill you with their bayonets. They hide in foxholes waiting for the perfect moment to ambush. They climb the palm trees and hide behind the leaves and snap you and your squad. And many other insane things that make this game almost a survival horror instead of a first-person shooter. All these improvements could only mean one thing: it was going to be dark. One of the ways Treyarch wanted to differentiate World at War from the previous games was the tone, and this can be seen throughout all the game and in all aspects. The gore, the music, the enemy behavior, and of course, the writing. World at War has almost no humor, and the few moments that it does, they only make things more unsettling. Beyond the main story, many scripted events happen on screen that reinforce this grim atmosphere. The opening scene where you're tortured by a Japanese officer, watching German captives being burned alive by the Red Army soldiers or executed in the streets. Another thing that makes the game unsettling is its music, especially the track played in the main menu and in the mission Vendetta. Aside from its haunting melody, it's also sung in German, with lyrics translated to "Good soldier, die with me." The rest of the soundtrack also does a great job giving a chilling choir or a heavy guitar riff when needed. When talking about sound in this game, we have to mention the voice acting. Gary Oldman, who you might know from these films, joined Treyarch to voice Viktor Reznov, a sergeant of Red Army and the most memorable character from the game. Kiefer Sutherland, the guy from 24, also voiced a key character but in the US campaign. Although he did a pretty good job giving life to Sergeant Roebuck, his character just didn't have enough personality to be memorable, unlike Reznov. Voice acting aside, it's obvious that Treyarch put a lot of focus on the sound effect as well. Although there aren't much documents on how they recorded the sounds, but it probably involved a decent amount of field recording and studio sessions to finally make a convincing and engaging environment. They also did a lot of research to make the game as authentic as possible, especially since it was going to be different from the previous World War games, which had a hero-like Hollywood-style tone. The developers watched a lot of real footage, documentaries, and even films. Lieutenant Colonel Hank Kiersey, who was the military advisor of World at War, mentioned in an interview how Rich Farrelly, the creative director of the game, read books on details as specific as the uniforms of the Japanese Imperial Army. The team also reached out to the veterans of war, both from the US and the Russian Army, interviewing them directly. Although the game eventually changes minor parts or exaggerates them to benefit the story, it keeps the harrowing and rugged feel of World War II. If you've played any FPS game since the early 2010s, then you're already familiar with the kind of gameplay you'll experience in this one. Like most games, this is not about revolutionizing the industry, it's about having a solid backbone to support the story and the setting. It's very easy and common to fail at what's been done before, but Treyarch didn't. Although the general gunplay and movement are the same, they did some minor changes to tailor it for World War II. As I mentioned earlier, one of these changes is the gore. Not just for the shock value, but to reinforce the brutality of war. Combining that with a good variety of weapons makes World at War a breath of almost fresh air for players coming from Modern Warfare. These weapons aren't just reskinned version of what came before, they are slower, clunkier and heavier, and the sound design and reload animations make you feel that heaviness from behind your monitor. Some of these guns may not be 100% accurate with this time period, but I think they were necessary to have a good variety of weapons. And let's be fair, you probably wouldn't notice it unless you're making a video like me or you're a huge history buff. Another important thing about the gameplay is its difficulty. It's not Dark Souls, but it's pretty hard for an FPS game. Veteran difficulty is especially infamous. The enemies constantly respawn and spam grenades to push you out of your cover. They also have ridiculously precise aim, so if there are snipers nearby, you'd better spot them first or you have to play those few minutes over and over again. And if you think the Eastern Front is hard, boy, I have a surprise for you. The Pacific Front takes it to a whole new level. Half of Japanese soldiers charge at you with the bayonets, while the other half rain down gunfire. And the last thing I want to talk about is the level design. Honestly, there isn't much to tell, in the best way possible. Thing is, Everybody knows this is bad level design and can ramble on for hours telling you what should have been different. But when it's good, it's good. It just works. But I gotta admit, even though the levels are linear, they do a pretty amazing job in making it feel open-ended. A lot of battles are in large fields, and even though there is a limited area to explore, you can approach your objective as you wish. Plus, the game lacks what modern CODs love: invisible barriers. If you see a piece of land, you can go, and if you don't, then you better keep your head down and follow your commander. Unlike the first two games, Call of Duty 3 only focused on the Battle of France, which made the campaign highly repetitive. So they decided to take a different approach with War at War. They divided the campaign into two parts, the Eastern Front and the Pacific. The game keeps things fresh by changing between these two perspectives every once in a while. This prevents the gameplay from getting boring, since you're always facing new enemies, environments, and challenges. But you aren't playing the game now, you're watching a video about it. So I'm going to change the order a little bit. First I'll cover the US campaign and then the Soviet campaign. I'll go through the missions in order of their appearance in the game, and I'll try to cover the important parts of the gameplay and talk about the historical accuracy. The game opens with its signature cutscene style, grainy footage tinted in the infamous colors of red, black, and white. We see a lot of real footage of war in the loading screens, which reinforce the grim and realistic atmosphere. The scenes we see in the loading screen before the first mission are the footage of American youth joining the army, and they are all probably gone. Before the mission starts, a guy named Sergeant Roebuck briefs us on the situation. A squad of Marines, including Private Miller, has been out of contact for about a week, and Roebuck leads the mission to save Private Miller. Semper Fi starts on 17th of August 1942 in Macon Atoll. You open your eyes as Private Miller, a prisoner of war, and the game throws you right into its harrowing world.
You think because you say nothing, you are strong? 貴様は強くない。強情なやつめ。
Don't tell him a fucking thing.
米兵どもはみんなこうなのか。二人とも殺せ。
Go to hell.
貴様は強くない。 Miller.
After the Marines save you, you go outside of the cabin to pick up a gun. And, well, you answer the call of duty.
Watch our flank! Don't let us surround it!
The intro really sets the tone of the game, but aside from that, the fact that this mission is taking place at night makes it even more intense and chaotic. You have to heavily rely on muzzle flashes and flares to find your enemies. The intro, the darkness, the sheer brutality of this mission makes it incredibly memorable, especially now that it's so early in the game. The game doesn't let you dip your toe in the water, it throws you right into the ocean.
Check it out.
Looks like a temple or some shit.
By the time you get halfway through the mission, you're introduced to the new AI model. You'd better listen carefully for that sound, because if you don't act fast enough, you'll be stuck with a quick time event that you'll probably never understand. After rescuing another squad, you get ambushed by Japanese soldiers who are playing dead. If you survive the ambush, good luck with that, you get to a Japanese base where you have to plant explosives to cripple their operation.
Back here! They're closing in! Guard that door! Miller! Get to work planting those trucks!
At this point, the mission is almost complete. You have to head for the boats to leave the island.
I got you!
Roebuck saves you again and drags you to the boat, and you drive off to the horizon after bombing an Asian country like a real cowboy. As good as this mission is, it's far from accurate. The real making a toll raid was led by Marine raiders and was more of a hit-and-run sabotage operation. The Japanese army weren't completely surprised either. They actually won the battle. The US forces failed to secure intelligence and lost many people. The second mission takes place about 2 years after Semper Fi on Peleliu Island. The mission is called Little Resistance because the US Army expected this operation to be easy and quick, but that expectation is shattered immediately. It feels a lot like D-Day. You're on LVT and it all seems pretty calm until it isn't. The Japanese army shoot down a plane, destroy a nearby landing craft, and snipe one of the Marines before you even reach the shore.
Keep your heads down! You hear me?
20 seconds!
After surviving the attack on your landing craft, the game introduces airstrikes for the first time in the series. You'll use the radio to call in bombardments so you can open a path to get inside the island. You then continue your way to a bunker-heavy field where you find the exact opposite of Little Resistance. Your squad is seriously outnumbered, so you have to rely heavily on air support.
We got him!
After clearing out a large trench network, you reach higher ground where you should ask for airstrikes to take out Japanese tanks. And finally the mission ends when you join Sullivan and Polanski in a back room.
Secure the surrounding area. Wait for the Major's orders.
When do we rest?
Soon, Polanski. Soon. Sullivan, no! Hold on! You're gonna be okay! Corpsman!
AA fire from Peleliu Airfield is knocking our planes right out of the sky. Taking this airfield is our only priority, whatever the cost. We let our guard down, Polanski. We can't let it happen again.
Hard landing continues the previous mission, but this time you're deeper in the enemy territory, and Robak leads the squad. While you're passing the jungle, you found a downed friendly aircraft, with the pilot trapped inside.
He's all snarled up on something. Shit! We're back!
After surviving the ambush, you get to the bunkers where the game officially introduces flamethrowers. And you burn your way through the enemy bunkers while listening to some kick-ass guitar riffs. On your way, you clear out a heavily fortified building, destroy some tanks, and continue advancing through another network of trenches. And finally, you reach the airfield. After you take out the anti-aircraft gunners, a whole lot of reinforcements come to take back the airfield, and you have to hold your ground until air support shows up. Like most missions in World at War, the game tones down both the gore and the scale of the battle. The real Battle of Peleliu involved over 30,000 troops and lasted for months, and the fight for the airfield was even bloodier than what's shown in the game.
Though we've taken the airfield, the enemy still hold on to most of the inland areas of the island. A maze of trenches and artillery positions run right through this whole godforsaken rock. The enemy's dug in deep, and we have to get our hands dirty. Flamethrowers. We'll burn them out.
The battle continues in Burnout after 2 missions in the Soviet campaign. This mission has a relatively simple objective. You have to wipe out 3 mortar pits so friendly tanks can advance. But the setting is quite scary. You have to clear out fortified bunkers and a massive network of trenches. Machine gun fire rains down on you. And while you're down in the trenches, Japanese soldiers use the high ground to take you out. It also heavily emphasizes the use of flamethrowers to clear the bunkers and mortar pits, adding to the horror of this mission.
Sir, mortar pits have been neutralized. Tanks are now en route to the point. Tanks are moving up!
Radio command. Tell them we've cleared the mortar pits. Good work, Marines.
They're making their last stand in the jungles and caves that surround the heavy guns on the point. We take them, and we take Peleliu.
Relentless is the last mission set in the Battle of Peleliu. It starts with you riding the tanks you saved from the mortars, which seems to be pointless now as the squad is suddenly attacked by anti-tank guns, and once again you have to fight off the ambush. You follow the tanks and push deeper into the last enemy territories left on the island, and eventually get to the caves. At first they don't seem like much, but a close quarters combat in the darkness is something that won't leave you for a while. By the way, these caves are the same ones the Japanese army used to attack the Marines in little resistance.
Shit! Kojo's got a defensive line dug in just beyond the tree line!
Anyways, you know the deal. You clear the place out of enemies, the squad regroups, and you move on to the next mission.
How many Marines did we lose taking this rock?
Already too many.
Vessels are now in visual range. Unmarked Japanese merchant fleet. Designation unknown.
Black Cat takes place about 8 months after Relentless, and it's the most unique mission of the game. In this mission you don't play as Private Miller anymore. Instead you take the role of a gunner aboard PBY Catalina, aka Black Cat. Your role in the plane makes you feel like a crucial part of a crew, instead of being a lone soldier. And adding to the immersion, you should walk inside the plane to access other turrets when the enemies get out of sight. First, you fight a Japanese merchant ship, but before you can get back to the base, you receive a distress call about a kamikaze attack. And on your path, you are ambushed again, this time by Japan's Air Force. While in air, the other Black Cat gets shot down, but you manage to land on water to rescue survivors from the US fleet. On water you fight off both PT boats and aircrafts, while pulling the sailors into the plane. You can save up to 12 sailors, and those you don't save are declared KIA, killed in action. After fighting some more, support finally arrives and you can take off and get back to the base. Black Cats is a great mission. It's a breath of fresh air in the campaign and a very important achievement in the CoD development history. But the mission is highly exaggerated. See, PBYs rarely attacked an enemy ship, even merchant ones, and a high-risk rescue mission deep in the enemy territory would have been almost impossible to take place.
The last few months on Okinawa have taken their toll. Morale is low. It's the rain, sir, and the mud. Tanks are getting bogged down, supplies aren't getting through. We can't even get the wounded out. Yes, sir. Understood.
Blowtorch and Corkscrew, or simply flamethrowers and grenades, starts after another break in the US campaign. On May 14th, 1945, you once again step into the boots of Private Miller, this time in Okinawa. You know how it is now. Japanese soldiers hide patiently, they ambush you, and in response you use a weapon of mass destruction against them. The smartest way to play this mission is to use smoke grenades to blind the enemy, and then use flamethrowers to flush them out of their spider holes, dead or alive. Your job in this mission is to take Okinawa, so you push deeper in the enemy territory. After getting past the machine gunners, you get to the cave. On the other side of the caves, you should blow up 3 enemy bunkers using satchel charges. The first 2 are pretty close, so you can wipe them out quickly. The third one though is the damn fortress. You should circle around it to find a way inside. Along the way you fight some more, clear more trenches, and use the tunnels to reach the last cannon. As for historical accuracy of this mission, the resistance of the Japanese troops is exaggerated. In reality, they were running out of food and ammo, and with Germany having fallen a month prior, they wouldn't have been able to put up this level of resistance.
Now let's get out of this damn hole and start dealing with our wounds.
Hold on, kid. We're gonna get you out of here.
Tell me got him on the truck.
We're moving out.
2.
You leaving?
Push ahead and take Sherry Castle.
But we're running on empty here.
You'll have a supply
It's not
drop
bad,
in the
okay?
Tomorrow? How the hell are we
Look at me.
supposed to hold out till tomorrow?
Not bad.
This is bullshit. You hear this, Sarge? We ain't getting shit till tomorrow morning.
Intel says Sherry Castle is mostly deserted. Look on the bright side. After this, you boys will probably get relieved and be on the boat.
Yeah? That's what we thought after Peleliu.
Every day was spent crawling through the mud and the dirt while bullets whistle all around. But this is the last time we're going to have to put our lives on the line. This is the enemy's last stand. When we take Shuri Castle, we go home. All of us.
The last mission of the US campaign takes place 2 weeks after Blowtorch and Corkscrew. You begin out of ammo in a recently bombed field, and after picking up some ammunition from a parachute, you guessed it, you get ambushed.
Eyes wide!
After fighting off the ambush, you reach a bunker in which you join the rest of your squad. Your objective in this mission is to take Shuri Castle, the last major stronghold of Empire of Japan. So naturally, you face a lot of resistance. Lots of spider holes, booby traps, and bonsai charges that makes this mission a nightmare for a veteran player. Enemies also spawn a lot in this mission, so you might as well push inside the castle quickly or there'll be even more of them to fight. Past the stairs, you get to the mortar pits, and one of my favorite weapons of the game, mortar shells. You can pick them up and throw them like hand grenades, except they do much more damage and explode on impact. You advance through the castle by fighting the enemies building by building, until you reach the tunnel beneath the castle. After fighting your way through, you reach the inner sanctum of the castle, where 3 Japanese soldiers are trying to surrender. So Polanski and Robak go to search them for weapons.
Keep those hands up!
Shit! Miller! Robot!
If you act fast enough, you can save one of them while the other one dies. But if you don't do anything, we can lose both of them. Whoever you save turns into a semi-Reznov character, urging you to show no mercy and kill them all. Soon enough, smoke grenades will go off in the field and a large wave of enemies will show up. While fighting them, you should ask for the air support to bomb 3 main buildings of the castle. The only thing historically off with this mission was the fact that the castle was bombed first and then the ground forces reached it. And one thing it got right is that no matter what, somebody always dies in a war.
Everything that was asked of us, we've done. Every night we lay in a filthy foxhole praying the enemy won't slit our throats. Every day was spent crawling through the mud and the dirt while bullets whistle all around. This is the enemy's last stand. When we take Shuri Castle, we go home. All of us.
The US campaign does a great job of portraying the Pacific front of the war. The battles of Peleliu and Okinawa each took 2 months to finish, and the cost was more than just time. The Battle of Okinawa itself resulted in the death of 12,000 American soldiers and 100,000 Japanese soldiers and civilians. The campaign also does a great job of showing the rising brutality of war caused by frustration on both sides, increasing using flamethrowers to kill enemies in mass, heavy bombardments, and eventually the atomic bombs. The Eastern Front begins on September 17th of 1942 in Stalingrad. You open your eyes in a blood-stained fountain. Half dead, you crawl forward and find out you are not the only survivor. The man named Viktor Reznov asks you for help to avenge the Battle of Stalingrad. He tells you about General Amsel, who is the mastermind behind Germany's campaign against the Soviet Union. Reznov has been hunting him like his prey.
Sniping your enemy is like hunting any other animal. Fire at the wrong moment and your chance will be forever lost. Patience.
When you move in for Amsel, enemy tanks block your path, so you have to go building by building to circle around them.
Snipers! Get inside now!
Reznov uses himself as a bait to reveal the sniper's location, and after many attempts, you finally get him. Past the sniper, you get to a building outside of which a German squad is patrolling.
Er mit dem Flammenwerfer. Verbrennt diese Russenschweine.
Fellow comrades who just saved you are trying to get to Germans' radio tower and stop the Germans from asking for more reinforcements. Dmitri and Reznov join in to cover them. You have to go from building to building to get a better view on your enemies, but things don't go as planned. Your comrades are highly outnumbered and there is no hope for them, but you get a shot at Amsel. While he is changing his cover, you can shoot other German soldiers to help your squad, but it will give away your location. Your choice to help your squad or not will slightly affect the last mission of the campaign.
You are a true marksman! They will be coming for us! We must go!
Needless to say, General Amsel is not a real historical person, but the tactics used by Germans in Stalingrad are pretty accurate.
Into the river, Dmitri! It's our only shot! Go! Kommt, lasst uns hier verschwinden, bevor sie nochmal angreifen. Töten wir sie! Genau wie diese dreckigen Schweine.
The second mission of the Soviet campaign takes place 3 years after Vendetta, during the final days of Nazi Germany. As Private Petrenko, you cheat death again and wake up among German soldiers.
Was ist das?
Dmitri!
Reznov the Messiah walks out of the shadows with a new recruit by his side, Chernov.
Tanks are ready to smash this line, and... Chernov! I am not hearing gunshots!
There is no point, Sergeant. They are already bleeding to death.
Then maybe our friend will help them.
Here is the second time in this campaign where you have a choice which will affect the last mission: to kill the wounded Germans or to leave them to their fate. You walk out of the house into farming fields which you are told to burn.
Shoot them in the back!
Past the fields you get to a river, where you better cross quickly since the Germans keep respawning. When you cross the river, you should choose whether you take the left path or the right one. Either way, you get to the same place. After clearing out the trenches and a fortified bridge, you get to more farmlands, where you can find a Panzerschreck to destroy enemy tanks. With enemy tanks out of the way, you follow Reznov to the barn house to take care of the hiding Germans.
But we will find it! Shoot! Another tank! Take it down! Again!
After taking care of the last enemy tank, you cross the barn house to join the friendly one.
Sergeant Reznov, you seem to relish in the smoke.
I've seen my friends die in front of me in the hands of this world. They deserve everything they get, and more.
With the tanks, you get to a German base, where you should use Panzerschreck some more to destroy some watchtowers and vehicles. After taking over the base and listening to Reznov's shit-talking Germans, you regroup with the tanks to move on to the next mission.
From this moment on, every step we take brings us closer to Berlin, closer to victory, closer to revenge.
We have lost many brave men, but their sacrifice is not in vain. Our tanks now form a line of steel so powerful that all German resistance will be crushed beneath its mighty treads.
Blood and Iron is the third mission of this campaign, but it takes place before the second one, Their Land, Their Blood. And it's kind of the Black Cast of this campaign, only with tanks. But unlike Black Cast that had a different character to control, you're still Dmitry Petrenko. The objective is simple: take Silo Heights and march on to Berlin. But being in control of a T-34 is more than enough to make a kick-ass mission. You destroy enemy tanks, bunkers, and towers. You are told to get to the radio station to stop the Germans from asking for reinforcements. Past the tower, you cross multiple fields and many enemy tanks. This is one of the last lines of defense in Germany, so of course they're gonna show a lot of resistance. You finally reach a train station where Reznov gives another speech and ends the mission.
I saw this man cheat death, time after time at the siege of Stalingrad. As long as he lives, the heart of this army cannot be broken. He makes us all proud.
On the Führer's birthday, a barrage of Katyusha rockets will tear Berlin.
Ring of Steel continues the fight 1 week after Blood and Iron, in the outskirts of Berlin. One thing I kept wondering about is, there are 5 days between this mission and the previous one, and the mission Their Land, Their Blood took place in these 5 days. So how are these guys still on the train? Anyways, in this mission you fight in a more urban area, similar to the first mission of the game, Vendetta. Except this is a full-scale war zone and not just a sniping mission. You go from building to building, clearing the place out of Germans, like you've been doing all along in this campaign. After the first building, you get to a wide courtyard crawling with German soldiers. And from the yard, you can reach the Berlin Asylum, that makes you feel like you're playing Silent Hill. Here you can get a double-barreled shotgun, which I don't really recommend since you're gonna be constantly ambushed, and you can't stop to reload. After escaping the asylum, you get back to the streets, where friendly tanks and airplanes are destroying the city. Despite the brutality of this mission, this is still far from reality. What Soviets did at Berlin was far beyond just killing German soldiers. I'm not gonna get into more details, since I'm not sure if YouTube would appreciate it.
If they stand for Germany, they die for Germany. Building by building, room by room, one rat at a time.
One day after Ring of Steel, you open your eyes in a bombed-out Berlin, while the Red Army is butchering its way through.
He wants mercy.
You do not deserve mercy!
What mercy did you show to our people? Wait! He may help. Help us! He can die for us! Muda! This is not war! This is murder!
This is how you end a war, Chernobyl!
And once again you have to clear out buildings room by room. And if you're quick enough, you can save a comrade. The building is pretty big and right at the heart of the Reich, so you have to fight a lot, and if you play on harder difficulty, you die a lot as well. After you're finished with the building, you enter the streets to see what used to be a city, a battlefield full of soldiers who are either dead or soon will be. To escape the bombardments, you push toward the subway.
Men are trying to surrender!
Look around you, Chernov. You think these men will be denied their revenge? That comes only 2 ways. Fast or slow. Dmitri, it is your choice.
Here you have another moral choice to make. To mercy kill or to let the squad burn the Germans. And again, it will affect the last mission. When you get down to the subway, you have to fight some more. and when you get past the trains, you have to hold back the enemy troops while Reznov tries to open the exit.
You will be okay. Do you hear me? They flooded their own metro in an effort to kill us, Dmitri. But once again, they failed.
Once again, there is some time difference that I can't wrap my head around. The previous mission ended with the flood, and this one continues right after it. But 6 days later, were they underwater for a week?
Which do you think will lead us home? Writing about this war or fighting it? Germany in the blood. No one will ever read this! If you lack the stomach to kill for your country, at least show me that you are willing to die for it!
Your squad is ordered to take the left flank and push toward the Reichstag. After getting past the ruins of what one time were houses and libraries, you get to the plaza. This open field offers one of the hardest fights in the game. First you have to blow up 4 anti-tank guns while dodging bullets like Neo, and then you get to the Parliament building itself. You eventually find a path to get inside the building when one of the columns falls down.
Dmitri! Someone should read this.
As I said earlier, this is one of the hardest missions in the game, but mostly for the sake of gameplay. In reality, by this point in the war, Germans didn't have much supplies or will to continue the fight.
Steel yourselves, men, for the final push to victory. Today we crush what remains of their fascist Reich. As heroes, we will return to Russia's embrace.
Continuing the fight right where you left off, Downfall starts with Chernov reading a passage from his diary, telling whether you're a hero, a monster, or something in between. What you are is chosen by the choices you have made throughout the game. Did you risk exposing yourself to help your comrades in vendetta? Did you spare wounded German soldiers in their land, their blood? Did you mercy kill the soldiers by the subway entrance, or did you leave them to burn? Similar to the previous mission, this is also a pretty hard fight to finish, but in close quarters. First you have to clear the entry hall, and then get up the stairs to reach the balcony of the Parliament. You then get down the stairs to finish the fight in the Parliament room. And when you're finished with the room, you get back up to cover the higher levels of the building. When you're finished with the last standing Germans, you go to mark the end of the war.
Claim our victory!
You can make it, my friend. You always survive.
The honor should be yours.
As long as you live, the heart of this army can never be broken.
Things will change, my friend. As heroes, we will return to Russia's embrace.
General Eisenhower informs me
The Eastern Front of the war cost 30 million lives, many cities, and scars that never heal. And I think War That War does a pretty good job at portraying it. Although one can argue that a war story that glorifies war is not a good war story. But this is still one of the best ones in mainstream media. The reason I personally love this game is the darkness. Not just in color palette, the story, the music, but in all of it. It's like lying down with a concrete block on your chest. And it should be like that. World at War shouldn't be the only game to take World War II as serious as it does. It wasn't a Hollywood blockbuster with cool jacked up heroes going to liberate countries. It was an international conflict caused by politicians, and their people paid the price. World War II took only 6 years in all of human history. In these 6 years, up to 65 million people lost their lives. Up to 130 million parents mourned their children. World at War is especially good because it has no heroes. The most memorable character of the game is Reznov, a man consumed by hate, vengeance, and propaganda. The Eastern campaign shows the dehumanization of war. It was about their land and their blood, not the people, the lives they all could have lived, and the hopes they all lost. The Pacific campaign also shows how even the supposedly good guys weren't necessarily the lesser evil. Burning people alive using flamethrowers, bombing with no care for the civilians, and slowly losing their humanity while watching all the madness. Thankfully, I was never there. Probably neither were you. So I can't say for sure, maybe to achieve a greater good, you have to be the bigger monster. But this I know, no matter what they say, nobody wins a war. Upon its release, World at War didn't receive the same praise as Modern Warfare. Most of the criticism was about the fact that it was just a safe sequel and not as groundbreaking as the previous game. Despite that, it was still acknowledged as a great entry and proved Treyarch's abilities. World at War was the foundation on which Black Ops and Zombies mode were built on. Black Ops went on to become its own big thing and brought back Reznov, and Zombies mode became the exclusive staple of Treyarch, showing up in all of their Call of Duty games. Despite the criticism against the similarities between World at War and Modern Warfare, the game still sold more than 15 million copies, and is loved by fans all around the world. Why do you think that is? The story and characters, the fact that it took risks to show the horrors of war, or maybe CoD isn't as good as it used to be and fans are just holding on to the past? You tell me. Thank you for watching this video, and hey, you have come this far, might as well like and subscribe to help the channel grow. And if there is anything we can do to improve these videos, let us know. This is the first video and we want to make each one better than the last. Sincerely yours, Rooftop Gaming.